Thank you. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that encourages informed and active participation in government. The views expressed tonight are those of the candidates, not the League, and the forum is not an endorsement of any candidate. The League neither supports nor opposes any candidate or any political party. A little bit of housekeeping before we get going. First, please silence your cell phones. Thank you for the person who reminded me to say that. And also, for the purpose of decorum and making sure that the candidates have the maximum amount of time to answer the questions that you want to hear, we ask you to refrain from applauding or speaking out at any time during the forum. Additionally, as you can tell, this forum is being recorded. It's being live streamed right now, and it also will be recorded and available for viewing on our website starting probably in a day and going through Election Day. The League is the sole owner of that recording and any photographs that get taken by our team tonight. So we ask you to please refrain from using a camera, from using any video, and no one can use any portion of our video except for us. I want to make one other important announcement that District 2 is going to be a bit unique in this year in that it is not, District 2 will not be a primary. It is a final election, as there are only two candidates and they are both of the same political party. So every registered voter who's eligible to vote in District 2 can be voting regardless of party affiliation or no party affiliation. And please do share that with your friends and neighbors so there's a good turnout. So we're ready to get started, and I'm going to introduce our moderators. First, Villia Johnson joined the League of Women Voters in 2019 and currently serves with me as co-president, working to empower voters and strengthen civic engagement. In addition, she serves on the board of the Digital Democracy Project, a nonpartisan organization that equips voters with the tools to monitor and influence legislative progress. Emily Lacaze is the executive editor-in-chief of Suncoast Searchlight and oversees the newsroom's editorial strategy and day-to-day operations. Emily comes to the Suncoast Searchlight from USA Today, where she spent 5 years as an investigative reporter and editor. Prior to USA Today, Emily's prestigious career includes positions with Gatehouse Media, the Sarasota Herald Tribune, and the recipient of multiple awards. I want to thank both Villia and Emily for moderating this evening's performance. Let's begin.
Good evening. Welcome to the Sarasota County Commission Primary Candidate Forum. I'm Villia Johnson and Emily Lacaze, as Rhonda mentioned. The format for this evening's forum will be candidates have 90 seconds to reply to questions and for their concluding remarks. All questions will be asked of all candidates. The order in which candidates answer questions will be rotated with each question. Candidates are requested to answer the specific question asked. No rebuttal or dialogue among candidates is permitted. Candidates may discuss their opponent's policy positions, but may not make personal remarks regarding other candidates. Our timekeepers will display a yellow sheet indicating 20 seconds remaining and a red sheet when time remains. If you'll just show the sheets, thank you, Liz. And then when time is out, if they do go over time, we have the bell. Don't make me use it. League, as Rhonda mentioned, our guidelines prohibit any recording of the event other than our recording, which will be live streamed and available, but photos and video are not allowed to be used by other people than the League. And all candidates tonight have seen and agreed to these guidelines in order to participate. Emily?
Thank you, Villia. Good evening. Now I'd like to introduce our candidates by district. County Commission District 2, Ms. Christina Sargent, a Republican. Mr. Mark Smith, a Republican. County Commission District 4, Mr. Jim De Niro, a Republican. Ms. Julie London, a Democrat. Mr. Joe Nunder, a Republican. Ladies and gentlemen, the only exception to our rule against applauding is right now, as I ask you to join me in welcoming the candidates and thanking them for their participation.
Okay, we will proceed with the first question. And as I said, we're going to be rotating through. Right now, we'll start with Ms. Sargent. Please describe your background and experience as it relates to this elected position and explain why you are qualified for the position.
Hi. Do you want me to stand?
I think it's probably better to stay seated.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christina Sargent. I currently am an attorney, local attorney here in Sarasota. Prior to having my own firm, I was a prosecutor in Sarasota, and prior to that, I was a prosecutor in Baltimore City. I served 15 years, 4 months, and 20 days in the United States Army. While in the Army, I was Sergeant. I was enlisted the entire time I was in, and I was in a logistical position. So in war zones, I would track personnel and equipment to make sure I knew where they were. And when I was back home, I tracked personnel, benefits, pay, locations, promotions, awards, things of that nature. I believe that you have to have a want to be in a position like this. I want to contribute to the community. I'm originally from Baltimore City. I come from a very politically intense community, and I am so glad to be a part of the community in Sarasota where you can engage. There's so much wealth and information out there. There's so many professionals in civic engagement. I would bring my integrity, my accountability as characteristics into the board. Thank you.
Mr. Smith.
Hello, I'm Mark Smith, excuse me. I grew up here in Sarasota. My family moved here in 1963. Anyway, I'm an architect, have my own business out on Siesta Key. I ran in 22 because I felt that an architect on the Board of County Commissioners would be of service not only to the board but to the citizens of Sarasota County. As architects, we deal with land use issues, obviously budgets, construction, timeframes, deadlines, all that good stuff. And so it's been a wonderful 4 years of being your commissioner. I want to extend that. We're not done. We've got real challenges coming up before us. We've got this referendum coming down the pike, and a lot of tough decisions are going to have to be made if it gets passed. And so I want to continue serving you as I have. I've enjoyed it. I have the expertise. I have the education. I've got my master's and bachelor's degree from Georgia Tech, and I'm well qualified. If you look at my voting record, I'm for smart development, and but it has to be the right development. It has to work with our sustainability, stormwater, and animal crossings and all that good stuff. So I want to continue to be your commissioner, so please vote for me, Mark Smith.
Mr. Denher.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting this tonight, League of Women's Voters and Suncoast Searchlight. Much appreciate you for the invitation and having me here. My name is Jim De Niro, and I'm running for County Commission. I'm a resident of Sarasota County for 45 years. I've invested a lot of time here. I've raised a family here. My wife is sitting in the audience. We have 2 adult children, a daughter who's an emergency room nurse at Sarasota Memorial Hospital, and a son who's working on his commercial pilot ratings over at Embry-Riddle. Very proud of our children and everything they've accomplished. But for 45 years, what have I served to this community? Because the position that I'm running for requires somebody who understands service. For 30 years, 3 decades, I served the city of Sarasota in law enforcement. And what did I do in that career? I did a great many things. I had phenomenal people working around me. I worked in many specialty units. Those units that I led worked in and supervised allowed me to give the opportunity to work with federal, local, and state agencies. I worked with budgets. I know time when we were back in the 2008s when we had to do more with less without compromising safety and quality of life for our citizens. I understand that I think the direction we're going now, we're going to have to start making some tough decisions with the way things have been happening in our county, and I believe those are some of the things that I can bring. That being said, I also have a little bit of experience in real estate and finance, and I bring that with me to understand the total cost of what everybody's going through. So when we understand housing issues and what people are dealing with, I certainly have for families and seniors going forward. So my time is running up, but we'll talk more, and you'll get more to get to me. And Jim De Niro, thank you so much.
I'm Julie London. I figured because I only have 90 seconds, I better write this all down. Of course, first, thank you to the Distinguished League of Women Voters and the award-winning Suncoast Searchlight. And thank you, all of you, for coming. I'm a product of the Sarasota County Public Schools and graduated from the University of South Florida with a BA degree. However, education doesn't define me. There's Ivy League graduates in Washington, D.C., and we see how well that's working out. A lot of moments define why I am the best choice for county commissioner. 10 years ago, I worked across the aisle with Senator Nancy Detert to get laws made protecting our most vulnerable elderly. This was the result of my 3-year fight to save my mom from the multi-billion-dollar industry of elder guardianship. I took on the billionaires, and my sweet mom lived out her final years at home with family. I'm running as an ordinary person who hasn't been heard like so many of us. We see the overdevelopment. We fear the AI data centers, and the county commissioners turn a deaf ear to us. Then comes along candidates who have already taken PAC money from developers and contractors and cry, stop overdevelopment. I am not going to take any PAC money. I'm going to listen, really listen, because this isn't my race. This is ours. This is our Sarasota. Thank you.
Mr. Nunder.
Thank you. Well, Ms. Lacaze and Ms. Johnson, thank you for hosting this. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here this evening. I am Dr. Joe Nunder. I am your current Sarasota County Commissioner out of District 4. My background is that we shuffled on down from Buffalo about 7 years. And I am also a product of the Sarasota County school system, a proud graduate of a little place called Pineview in Osprey. By trade, I'm a chiropractic physician in private practice for about 16, 17 years. I have an unbelievable wife, spiritual leader, the heartbeat of our family, my wife Cindy, whom with we share 3 boys, Joey, Michael, and Ethan. Joey is a senior, graduated out in the real world. He qualified for state competition this year. 5 out of Venice High School went. Extremely proud of that. He's bigger than me, ladies and gentlemen. Michael is going into high school, so the journey continues, and Ethan is going into middle school. So we're pretty busy as a family, and I want to touch on a couple things pertinent to the question experience. I've sat on the Sarasota County Planning Commission for several years. I was a city councilman in the city of Venice. I am now your current county commissioner in District 4. If you add up all that time, you're talking 7+ years, ladies and gentlemen. Relationships matter. You got to get to work, and endorsements matter. Sheriff Kurt Hoffman, Karen Rushing, and our state attorney, Ed Brodsky, and as of today, I'm happy to announce our IAFF Firefighters Union has endorsed my campaign, and that speaks volumes to the work and the people that you do the job with. Thank you.
Thank you. For question 2, we'll begin with Mr. Smith. If elected, what will be your top priorities?
Well, the top priority has been, and maybe for a while, is stormwater. We were lucky last year with the no hurricane season, and we hope it's going to be light again. What we discovered, all of us, that the maintenance of the stormwater system in Sarasota County had been neglected for 20 to 25 years. And what we ended up doing as a commission was starting the new stormwater department, and we've got a very good stormwater engineer in charge. We have to continue to do that because you're not going to cure 20 years in 1 year or 2 years. So it's a 5-year deal, and we're on the clock, and so we have to continue with that. Of course, depending on how the referendum goes, if the referendum gets passed, and we cut the property taxes, you have to remember that 21 cents of every dollar of your property tax goes to the Board of County Commissioners for services that we need. And the other, like 53%, I believe, goes to the school board. So if we have to cut programs and things, we need to get the word out so that we know what we're going to do next. But it's going to be a tough time. It's going to be a tough time here for the next one up. And so I think we need experience in that seat, and that's why I'm running.
Mr. De Niro,
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question one more time?
if elected, what will be your top priorities?
Okay, so there are several top priorities that we have going forward. I think number one, first and foremost, I think we all know the biggest frustration that we all deal with as citizens in Sarasota County is our frustration with infrastructure, roads, obviously water mitigation and so forth. And the county has finally stepped up by getting a lot of the ditches and the drains cleaned out. Why? It's really simple. We saw a neighborhood that got completely flooded out after Hurricane Debbie. That was a significant impact. I have personal friends that lost their homes because they got flooded out, because at the end of the day, the county was just dropped the ball when it came to keeping those things out. So we need to stay on top of our infrastructure. Our roads need to be improved. We have roads that are ready made to go from 2-lane to 4-lane. We've waited decades that they've already been set up and ready to go in Palmer Ranch, for example, and have not been done. It just doesn't make sense to me why it's not happening. Let's talk about fiscal responsibility, okay? This current term of county commissioners, the budget has increased more than 73% from the beginning, $500 million in the last. That is significant money. That is your tax dollars. And you're seeing money being wasted and there's zero accountability for it. I'm about accountability and being transparent. These are significant problems that we have today going forward. We can talk about this referendum. We don't know what's going to happen in November. If it does happen, it's going to be a big problem for us to have to deal with. But we don't know. But we need to make tough decisions to make life better for Sarasota and the quality of life. So those are a couple of them right now. Obviously, I don't have the time to do it, but accountability and being transparent are critically important right now going forward. Thank you.
Ms. Linden.
For me, the most important thing, is this on? We're not supposed to touch that. Can you hand it? So the most important thing to me is the overdevelopment. I think it's insane. My husband and I, who is sitting in the audience tonight, we drove through all of District 4, which is absolutely huge. And seeing what is happening, especially off of Sarasota, that area, it's a crime. And our people, when we drive by, people say, well, it's too late for Sarasota. It's close. We are at a precipice. How do we fight overdevelopment when we have Tallahassee starting things like the Live Local Act or continuing it on? I have all kinds of plans to stop it. And one thing I will say, Matt Osterhout, who works with the county, he has a good plan going to help prevent the bad developers, the bad players come in. We have to do a strict adherence to the comprehensive plan. That's one way, making them go through the multiple steps which other counties aren't making the bad players do. So we're on the right track, but we're not doing enough. These laws were written weakly on purpose. There is no case law. I think it's worth it to go for it anyway. If they're going to hit us in the wallet, let's hit them in the wallet. Thank you.
Mr. Nunder.
Thank you. Well, always top priority, ladies and I got to keep my wife happy doing this politics stuff, so we want to make sure to keep the home nice and copacetic. But quite honestly, it's been said at this dais already, stormwater infrastructure is high and tight on our priority list. If you go back and look last year, you'll notice that our board took some steps, and sometimes it's hard to take credit for the things that you do, but in March, I penned a letter to our board through the proper channels to make sure that we had some ideas that came from the subject matter experts in the field. And our board in August actually adopted probably about 90% of those things. Those are not Joe Nunder originals. This goes back to having relationships with people in the community to address the infrastructure needs. And so I know in the city of Sarasota, we have Hudson Bayou and a couple other projects that we were nice enough to have the money from our federal government to go ahead and do those things. We are continuing to work and listen to our community day in and day out to be proactive in protecting our environment, protecting our watershed, in addition to making sure that as we move forward, ladies and gentlemen, we live in Florida. Hurricane, rain events, those things are going to happen. So we need to be more proactive in our attempt. We have an entirely new stormwater division, and that's where it starts. Roads, ladies and gentlemen, we are behind the eight ball that. I heard somebody say real quick, and I'll end with this. We bought a used car. We're finding out problems with that used car, and we're having to deal with it at the moment. Thank you.
And Ms. Sargent.
So everybody has said stormwater and infrastructure. We have all experienced recently what it's like when we don't focus on infrastructure. We have spent so much money in the past 4 years. This commission did increase spending 73%. We have $1.1 billion right now in bonded debt. And infrastructure wasn't a priority. There are neighborhoods that are miles and miles away from the coast that experience flooding. I live in the Pinecraft area. We experienced flooding. That needs to be a priority. I don't think we have a revenue problem at this stage. We didn't have it for the past 4 years, but we had a priority problem. And the problem was we weren't prioritizing the infrastructure and the roads. Additionally, there's a lot of decisions that are made by the commission that end up in litigation. As an attorney, I will tell you, when you lose, you pay their attorney's fees, you pay our county's attorney's fees, outside attorney's fees. There's a lot of decisions that are being made to push against state coming in and trampling on our home rule, which is understandable, but it's very important that we don't make decisions that bind us in litigation, which the county commission has been wrapped up in litigation. And currently with the Live Local Act, the way that we're addressing it, it's going to cost us millions of dollars. Thank you.
Next question. Do you support or oppose the proposed Florida constitutional amendment to increase the homestead tax exemption? Please explain your position and how you will educate voters about your position. Mr. De Niro, we'll start with you.
Without question, we need some form of property tax reform in the state of Florida. I have concerns when the state gets involved and starts mandating some of the things that take place. Florida is a very diverse state with 67 counties. And because we have coastal properties, inland properties, their budgets are different, their services are different, everything, their standard of living is different to a certain degree. How we get there is what I have some concerns about as far as putting this and implementing this at $150,000, $250,000, and even the possibility of $500,000. I really am concerned because when we have been spending money based on COVID years and property tax values, and we're now going to see the pullback of those actual values, because I see it myself personally as a realtor, that property values are dropping in certain areas significantly because we have people that came here remotely that are being forced back to work, and they're now dumping their properties. And that is significant, as I'm seeing in some cases, almost to $200,000 from what they paid from several years ago. To the voters, I say this, is that we're going to know what we're dealing with when that does pass. And when that amendment gets put forward, we're just going to have to figure out what to do best. And that's what I also did in my former career. Figured out how to do more with less, looking at duplication of services that aren't needed within the county. We are going to have to make some cuts, regardless of the referendum. Cuts still need to be made to Sarasota County business. Thank you.
So this homestead tax exemption will be a disaster to every single county in Florida. This is a nightmare scenario that, once again, the legislature rushed through. Half of them didn't even know what they were signing. They still don't know what it is. Additionally, they're going to have to rewrite it because the way it's written right now is unconstitutional, but no matter what, it is showing up on the ballot. Basically, we're giving away all our control to the Tallahassee legislators. So if we needed money for the fire department, now we have to go to Tallahassee with our little tin cup and beg for money, and it's very easy for them to say, well, we don't have it. Taxes, of course, are going to be raised in other ways. Part of the questions is how do we promote how terrible this is? And when I speak with some of my Republican friends who I adore, and I understand where they're coming from, they said we want the older folks to be able to stay in their homes. Well, I think that's something that maybe we could work with on a local level to keep them in their home, but we don't want to lose home rule. By the way, look at how Tallahassee has handled the voucher system for school with millions and millions of dollars missing, and the hurricane fund. This will be an unprecedented, multi-billion-dollar fiscal crisis. This is our money. This is our tax money, and it needs to stay in our hands.
Thank you. Mr. Nunder?
Thank you, Ms. Lacaze. Well, ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake, this is going on the ballot in November. There's going to be a lot of conversation about it at the policy level with what we do as county government each and every day. It is absolutely, in some way, shape, or form, going to affect county services. County government is in the business of services. We are service providers. We are your libraries. We are your parks. We are your trash, right? Where does your water go after you use it? These are going to be very, very difficult conversations, and in my conversations thus far, there are 3 areas that in government typically are looked at the very, very beginning of any budgetary cut process or constraint, and that is your library system, your parks and rec system, and then your public transportation system. Now, I don't know about all of you, but Sarasota County, in my humble opinion, of the 67 county, is the best place to live, work, and play, period. I travel the state with soccer with my kids, so I know what I see. These are the conversations that are going to be incumbent on elected officials to go into the community, reach out, and say, hey, what do you guys feel about this? What do we have to do? We only have so much money. And then going back to relationships. Sheriff Hoffman, what are you thinking about this? What are we going to do? IAFF, firefighters, hey guys, I know you need build some more building inspectors. You're asking for 14. We might only be able to do 7. How's that going to work? So what we have to do is really have intellectually honest conversations about the real world and the implementation of less money. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sargent.
Recently, our state representatives have informed us if this does get passed, there is no avenue, program, or plan to get the money to come back down to the counties. We're just going to have to make do without that money. With that said, I don't think that the implications of it passing has been discussed enough of how it's going to impact us. We see with the Live Local Act, we see with the vouchers, there is a lot of state oversight that comes down to the county level, but that is something that the voters get to decide. We're also voters, but it's important to be informed with what you're deciding. I know some people on this panel right now have children in schools. I don't. I have a 25-year-old, but she is expecting my first grandchild in exactly 30 days. And in 60 days is the primary election. With that said, I would love for her to live here and raise my grandchildren. Her fiance is a police officer. I would love for them to stay here. With that passing, it's going to make it so much more expensive in an already expensive environment. I think eventually taxes and true value of land need to come up with the 21st century. Not now. We are all hurting. Everything is expensive. Gas is expensive. Groceries are expensive. We're still recovering from COVID. We have a lot of debt that we need to pay, so now's not the time.
The full ramification. Hello. Here we go. The fact is, if the county has to give the homestead exemption at this level, we are going to have to shut down services. Again, we're talking really about that 21, 23 cents out of every dollar that's going to really be affected. And it's going to hurt us in our ability to prepare for storms, road maintenance, all these things that we've come to rely on, even things like the grass and the median. But it in some cases, Sarasota is better off than a lot of counties because we do have tourism and visitors. There are going to be some counties and some cities that, quite frankly, are going to go bankrupt with this because that is their source of income. And so we need to think about the services and our quality of life. And it's going to hit us, but it's really going to take 5 to 10 years for it to really, when you start seeing the roads decay and the traffic lights and things like that. We didn't get enough time. There wasn't enough thought put into this, and it was jammed down our throats, quite frankly. And I have said that I think this is a practical joke that's gone bad. And so let's hope 41% of us understand it and will vote against it. Thank you.
Thank you all. Because this is such an important topic, we'd like to stay with this topic for one more question. If passed, and I know some of you have touched on it already in your previous answers, but try to be more specific about how exactly this amendment, if passed, would impact the county's operating budget and services. And we'll start with Ms. London. Yes, ma'am. If passed, how would this amendment impact the county's operating budget and services?
Well, as we know, they took out the schools, the education out of this. It still is going to affect our schools because programs like the Jewish Family Services who help students, all the little services that help the students, they'll have to decide where their money will go. So it's going to affect the teachers, the students. It's going to affect absolutely everybody and everything. Home rule is so important. And now I just believe that this would be a disaster, and always it would affect our roads, everything that we take for granted. One thing about living in Sarasota is I don't want to have to worry. I want to enjoy my life. This adds worry and stress. It just is going to affect every single aspect of our way of life.
Thank you. Mr. Nunder?
Thank you, Emily. I can give you some hard numbers over the next 2 years. I mean, you're looking at about $130 million effect to the general fund. That's significant impact to our day-to-day operations. And just rewinding a little bit, the service conversation, as I understand it, to be libraries, public transportation, and parks and recreation. Typically, that is the MO for any government when they need to make cuts. These are conversations that are going to be incredibly hard. And you know, Julie, you mentioned something because you guys are familiar with the .1661 mil that we have for the HSAC and the BHAC programs here in Sarasota County, right? We actually went back last year, had a workshop, and we figured out that. And you brought up Jewish Family Services. They're a wonderful provider here in Sarasota County. This particular legislation is going to affect everybody across the board, including HSAC and BHAC. These are an integral and essential services for mental health, food, protection in our community. And right now, that would not be good because we just got the application process online to a point where the nonprofits have the ability to go through the application easy. So this is going to be a very broad discussion. It's going to be uncomfortable, and we're going to have to make hard decisions. I will say that anything that affects our children and our elderly population, we really need to drill down deep into those particular areas. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sargent?
So it is the commission receives money and they allocate it to services. So when that revenue is decreased, you're either going to have to find more money somehow that's pushed off to the individual, or you're going to have to decrease services. And the way that we've spent money in the past 4 years, unfortunately, it seems as though we never anticipated that this day would come. For example, there have been, I think the sheriff's office had a 22% increase, which is great because we need to be marketable with the rest of the nation, with the rest of the state, to have great people that want to come and work and live here. But to find that money, it's a difficult feat, and we just had 4 years of great spending on things that we could have prioritized with infrastructure, with storms, with traffic control. Unfortunately, I do think that there's not enough going out to really inform the implications of how it's going to impact us on the local level. And there are going to be significant cuts that have to be made, because that's what happens. You're going to have to increase your revenue to fill those services and, fulfill the promises of the budget and things that we spend our money on, or you're going to have to decrease services. And it is, like Mark says, it's going to be an uphill battle if this happens.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Yeah, well, we've hit on it, and you're sitting in a place that may not be open all the time. It's not a tax cut, it's a tax shift. And so we're not going to be able to find the money magically. It's going to be services, whether or not you have to pay to get into the library, or pay to go into parks, or pay to use the toilet, or there's going to be a shift. And we don't know what it means right now. We are working on the information bulletin that we can put out there to show the public on exactly what services are going to have to be cut and where we're going to be looking. But it's parks. We've got over 150 parks in Sarasota County. We're not going to be able to staff them. It's crazy. It really is. And we hope we don't have to increase sales tax, because that hurts everybody. Commercial property, those taxes are going to go up because they're not homesteaded. Rents are going to go up. Businesses are going to charge more because their taxes are going up. We're all going to be paying. It's just going to be a different situation. But unfortunately, meanwhile, our roads are going to degrade. We're not going to have the same services. Keeping the lights on. I mean, it's not going to be as nice as it is now, and we're going to be paying the same amount of money out of your pocket. It's just going to be in a different fashion.
Thank you. And Mr. De Niro?
I think we all really can put a crystal ball on this to try and figure out what we're talking about. And at the end of the day, we live in an area which is one of the crown jewels of Florida. Everybody wants to be here. This is a very attractive place to come and live. The problem is that every bit of that costs money to be here. Every bit of it costs money and services to maintain that. We're actually struggling with some of those services now in the condition in the state that we're in financially. Where does that come from? We start charging for parking on Siesta Beach? Are these the little things you're going to start to come from? I heard services about some of the service you pay for is your trash pickup. You pay for that now. You get a garbage can, you want an extra garbage can, you pay for the garbage can. Before you didn't. You pay more money in taxes you did today, but your services are less. Why is that such a problem or a situation to understand? Personally, I think it's a disaster if it goes forward. Because the bottom line is, if we don't have revenue coming in to handle our services, non-essential services will be cut, or they will lose a lot of funding. Grants are gone. A lot of these services that help families and children that need it, programs that give services to people in need that are dealing with criminal issues as far as rehabilitation, those services start to slide away. Those disappear. That comes from funding. Funding comes from your tax dollars. But we do need reform. We need to get people in a better position, especially seniors that own a house and are being taxed out by insurance and taxes. That's not cool with me, and it needs to change.
Okay, our next question, we will begin with Mr. Nunder. The question is, housing affordability is hurting Sarasota families and limiting our local economy. What measures do you support to address affordable housing and the effect on our local workforce?
Great question. Thank you for that. We're already doing some initiatives within Sarasota County to promote the affordable housing crisis that we do have here in Sarasota. In fact, we have about 3 or 4 different projects that have come through the pipeline already to address the affordability issue for workforce and low, I don't want to say low income, but lower income housing. And we need to encourage the affordable housing developers who build. These are not traditional, ladies and gentlemen. These are people that come into the community and provide 30 to 40% AMI products for our firemen, our police, our restaurateur people that work in the industry. The greatest barrier to entry for a development of that such is the cost of the land. And where Sarasota County can step in, which we did last year, is we started allocating about $300,000 annually in the budget in a kitty over time to help projects come online for our community. I was looking at some figures yesterday about where we are with the inventory. We're about 90,000, I think it was 90,000 short in residential or affordable housing units in our community. And the conversation with a lot of these, ladies and gentlemen, at 120% AMI, I'm not sure if anybody's familiar, but that's $130,000 household income. 2 nurses can't afford that. Two teachers can't afford that. We have to encourage developers 80% below. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Charles.
So I moved here, and I was a prosecutor. So I came from Baltimore City. When I was in Baltimore City, I was prosecuting violent crimes, and I contacted the prosecutor down here, and I really wanted to work as a prosecutor in Sarasota. When I got here, all of my colleagues had roommates. Nobody lived on their own. I was fortunate that I had money coming in from the military, but when I took a significant pay cut, I took a $45,000 pay cut to come be a prosecutor here because I really wanted to live in Sarasota. With that said, it is astronomically expensive to live here, and I see that the $300,000, which is commendable from the commission, it doesn't even put a dent in the problem. And then when we can't figure it out here on our own, then we have the state coming in and trying to correct all the problems, which then infringes on our rights. Affordable housing is a problem that needs to be addressed. The affordable housing here is still not affordable. It's just not. That we have studio apartments here that are $2,000 each, and we just don't have we don't have anywhere for our police officers to live by themselves, our prosecutors, firemen. We have the service industry, and that does need to be addressed. We just need to find a way to address it here from us.
Yes, this has been something I ran on initially back in 22. We have a group of folks that you may be familiar with. It's the Sarasota Housing Action Plan, and this was put together by the leaders both in the city and the county. And one of the main points that they were trying to make is that we need a funding source, and it was an affordable housing trust fund. And we do have the trust fund in existence, but we're only putting money into it when we have a disaster. Or if somebody dies and doesn't have family and it's chillated and it goes in there. And so right now we do have $330,000. The board did vote for that. It's not nearly enough, but we do have an annual expenditure out of our budget right now. The fact is that in Sarasota County in 26, 30% AMI is $16.50 an hour. Minimum wage in Florida is $14. 80% AMI is $41.40, or $86,100. Even with this Live Local Act, it's at $120. We need this Affordable Housing Trust Fund. We need to be funding it with the increase in property values when the county commission actually increases the value of those properties for density reasons. Take a portion of that, put that in the trust fund so we can give it to the housing developers so they can use it as bridge loans so they can keep these projects moving. Thanks.
Mr. De Niro.
Thank you. Wow, this is a really tough question to tackle, but let's get some numbers in play here. So 120 AMI is our average. Put it down to 80%, 90%. 80% puts that at $90,000 income a year to buy a house in Florida. What does that buy you in Sarasota County? Happen to know a little experience on this. It gets you a house for $385,000. That's about 1,500 to 1,800 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Not bad. 70% of those are in Northport. There's over 400 of those homes right now for sale in Sarasota County. People aren't buying them. Why? It's not, we can talk about the money we're putting aside. There's plenty of down payment assistance programs out there for people to do that. But people are struggling right now. Why? Student loan debt, car loan debt, they're not making enough money to do it. So we can talk about attainable and affordable all day long. It's affordable to who? We have a major issue. It's hard to sell development and build more houses when you can't sell those houses because they're $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 homes. That doesn't work in today's world anymore. So if we're going to continue to push build more because we need more units, fine, make it affordable. Builders can do that. I know what the margins are because they like to brag about what they make. So the money's there to do it. They can bend a little bit and make it affordable. But we need to push back. County's not going to save it from that, but the developers and the people involved in the economy, when rates go down, will make things better. We got to be careful, though. When rates go down, prices go up, it makes affordability even much more difficult. That's what we need to be careful of. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. London.
So I completely agree that affordable housing is not affordable. I don't think I can afford affordable housing. So what we have to do is we have to silo together with all the charities. We have to talk with them. We have to talk with the people who can't afford these homes. Instead, we're talking with the people who are not stakeholders but can actually make money from this. What I would propose is we have to look at other states. How are they doing it? Look at the data. I am hearing a lot that John Thaxton has a great plan for affordable housing. We also have to go to the legislature. I am not beholden to the legislators in Tallahassee. I think it's crazy that I don't know who our lobbyists are, but I think as a board, everybody needs to go up as one body and talk with the legislators about the affordable housing. They have so much of our control. The Citizens for Affordable Housing, Tom Knight, is on the board, and everybody says it's just extremely complicated. To say we have an answer or we have a solution, I don't think any of us do. It's almost like bullying in schools. It's a very hard thing. But we do have to go to the people on the ground and talk with them, find out what they're making, and go from there. Talk with the people who are in need, and then figure out how we can help them.
Thank you. Our next question will start with Ms. Sargent. The question is, what actions can be taken to protect Sarasota's environment, water quality, and coastlines from pollution, overdevelopment, and climate change?
So I know in the beginning we weren't supposed to talk about each other, but on the campaign trail, I have said to Mr. Smith and the public, I think the county is doing a great job in that area. There are properties that are being identified. They're preserving them. I'm not too fond of the boatyard purchase, which is a hot topic. But I think overall, our community on both sides of the political spectrum can agree that it is important to have preservation. And I do say that they are doing a good job with identifying funding. I know that there are certain areas where the county has preserved land and come up with a longevity program. So 20, 30 years from now, we're not searching for money on how to staff it and how to maintain it. So in that regard, I will say I think we're on the right track. And I apologize for breaking the rules.
In a good way, though. Mr. Smith.
Well, yeah, we're fortunate enough here in Sarasota County to have conserved about 34% of Sarasota County. And with folks like Big Water Land Trust and other conservation elements out there, we're going to continue, and hopefully we can get it to 40%. But it's we need to do it. We have to do it. The land that we have out there that we are conserving, the Hawkins Ranch was a big one that we just were able to get. It filters our water. It filters our air. It helps us with getting the nitrates out of the soil before it gets to the bay, so we haven't had the issue with the red tide as we have in the past. And so it is extremely important that we continue on this path. With that said, the SLAP, I believe the renewal of that is on our ballots. Make sure you vote for that. And also, I hate to keep getting back to this referendum, but for us to keep those lands open for the public, they need to be staffed. And we won't be able to staff them. So we're going to have a lot of vacant land that nobody can get to, unless you jump the fence. But anyway, it's important. We're doing a great job, I think. Midnight Pass is open. We are going to put $500,000 towards it. The only good thing out of the hurricanes was, hey, they opened Midnight Pass. And so our bay's a lot cleaner. And so the good Lord's looking after us, too. Between SLAP and the good Lord, we're going to be fine. Thanks.
Mr. De Niro.
So I served on SLOC. I did a couple of years on events. That was always a tongue twister. I'm sorry. And I was on it. Environmentally Sensitive Land Oversight Committee. Essentially, the group that tries to locate property for the county, and that is going to be on the referendum. I think we're trying to fund it up to $250 million to keep that solvent. That's critical. Vote yes on that. We need to do that. We need to locate it to get us to, I think, about 20,000 acres. We need to be about 40% of protected land in Sarasota County. That's a great goal to have. However, the boathouse was brought up. The money from that fund is going to purchase that land. You bought 2 acres for $18 million. Break that down in numbers. That's a lot. You need 20,000. We paid $18 million for 2 acres. But a little bit when it comes to water and quality and so forth. You know, we had Debbie. I brought it up earlier. We had flooding, and we had major issues with flooding. What did we do shortly after that? 3 weeks after Debbie took place, okay, the county commission approved 6,600 houses on 3H Ranch over by Ibis. That's a tone-deaf approach to paying attention to what's going on and what the voters need. We need to have people that sit there and say, not a time for that right now. We might want to put a pass on putting 6,600 houses when we just flooded out hundreds. So as far as that's concerned, we need to make sure our infrastructure is in place for that. So we did do a better job. They are doing a better job. But we need to get pipes cleaned out or drains cleaned out on Siesta Key. Every time it rains about an inch, that place floods. So we need to get those things fixed as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. London.
We're talking about the environment, so I think we need to bring up the data centers. This is something that would destroy our environment if we allow any data centers in Sarasota, and this is something I would fight against. We have to slow the growth. That's it. That is ruining our environment. Regarding the referendum, absolutely we have to pass it, and I do agree. What a mess to pay $18 million for a property that was sold for $8 million just a couple of years ago. Additionally, I don't like the way any of those tenants were treated. They're our constituents. They're people who are just hardworking folks. More on the environment. Look what's happening at Minnesota Beach Road, and I'm proud to be wearing this red T-shirt today. The county commission paid Pat Neal $15 million to put a road through Old Florida. I went to their rally. They are not going to be in my district. I think they're all Republicans because they consider themselves rednecks, and you usually don't think rednecks and Democrats together. I don't care. Anybody who can save and fight for Old Florida, plus this may be a private road. Infrastructure has to catch up before we allow more growth.
Thank you. Mr. Nunder.
Yes, could you just repeat the question real quick for me?
Sure. What actions can be taken to protect Sarasota's environment, water quality, and coastlines from pollution, overdevelopment, and climate change?
Great, thank you. Well, first I'd like to say I think that by and large our county is doing a phenomenal job as it relates to our environment. And it was already said here this evening that we have about 33 to 34% open space currently. Love to see that reach towards the 40% mark in the next 4 to 6 years. The November ballot for the SLAP program, ladies and gentlemen, please vote for it. It's a competition. We get that money in. We can buy the land before a developer wants to go in there and purchase it. That's the kind of thinking that we need. Those are the things that we want to do. I think they're very interesting concepts, and biology is in my background. It's my undergrad, so I really understand hydrodynamics, environment, synergy, et cetera. You want to be hyper-focused on our watersheds, water flow, and the way that our environment interacts with our society. And it was already spoken, and any chance I get to touch on Midnight Pass, it's a beautiful thing because, in fact, what I learned about 2 weeks ago is with the dredging of Philippi Creek, the conveyance of stormwater through Philippi Creek is going to end up in that particular watershed, Little Sarasota Bay, and ultimately get out into the Gulf of Mexico. If you haven't been out there and seen the difference in water quality, it is absolutely amazing. So those are the type of things that we need to continue to focus on, keeping our watersheds top of mind, keeping Midnight Pass open. Inland management plan is coming. Emergency plan is coming. We're a coastal community. We all recreate here. We have our tourism here. Those are the type of things that we need to be hyper-focused on, continue with the relationships, always rely on the subject matter experts within that discipline. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, and we will start with Mr. Smith, is what is your stance on the Live Local Act and its impact on Sarasota County?
Well, this is an interesting subject. I'm for affordable housing, but even with the Live Local Act, it's only 40% at 120 AMI, and that's not affordable housing. If we want to do affordable housing, it should be in the 30 to 60, and maybe 60 to 80. That's the workforce housing. To me, this is basically a ticket for developers to take over some land, say it's going to be affordable, and then build to within a mile as high as the tallest building around. And lately, they've been wanting to go. It initially started out as commercial, industrial, and mixed use. You could do that. And I can't say that some of the shopping centers along 41 that are old, that we can make that into mixed use. I think that'd be a great idea. But now they're trying to basically invade our open lands out east and also our residential neighborhoods. And that's why the county decided to challenge it. It was either us challenging the state and taking on the heat, or the neighborhoods that have to challenge the developers, and they would have to pay for it. And I know it's our tax dollars, but there have been communities in Orlando and other places that have challenged this and have won. And so it's worth the risk to me to protect our neighborhoods. And so Live Local in certain areas works fine along 41 and major corridors, not in our neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. De Niro.
Live Local probably initially was intended to find affordable housing because out of the 67 counties in Florida, everybody's got their own idea of what they want, whether it's we need affordable housing or it's NIMBYism or whatever the situation may be. I'm not a pro Live Local guy. I'm a home rule guy. I always will be. I think the counties should be in charge of the development, that follow the comprehensive plans, that follow our 2015 plan, so we don't have neighborhoods with one-story houses that now have a 5-story apartment complex next to them. It doesn't fit the plan. It shouldn't go. At the end of the day, right now we're dealing with some political theater. Sarasota now has a target on its back, and we have a lot of developers that are lining up to start filing lawsuits against us because we want to take a stand. That's fine. It depends what you decide on what taking a stand is. You can either be defensive on it now, which we are, which we're going to pay legal fees potentially in the end, or we could be on the offense and be proactive and take the lawsuit to the state. There's several other class action lawsuits that we could have jumped onto to be a part of that. Now, July 1, apparently they fixed the loophole. Now there is a mass of applications filing with the state to get in before the deadline, so they're grandfathered in. So unfortunately, as a result, we have a problem that surfaced that the contractors and attorneys have figured out, hey, get it in now, so we're grandfathered in so we can deal with it. So this mess is yet to be solved, but as far as I'm concerned, what we're dealing right now is political theater, and it just happens to be convenient during its political season. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. London?
Well, I feel like being mad doesn't sell, and yet as we're talking about this, I'm just feeling myself getting madder and madder and hot under the collar. Let me tell you what Half Acre Construction said. They said, my client will not be pushed around by this county commission. Well, this county commission is the people. So they're saying, we're not going to be pushed around by the people of Sarasota County, and you can imagine what I think of that. We have to do strict adherence to the comprehensive plan. That will help. I went to a wonderful workshop that Mr. Osterhout gave, and again, our plan against the Live Local Act is not a bad one because there are 5 different steps, and many counties stop after the first step and they give a go-ahead to the developers. We stop after step 4 after they have put in some investment. So they try to discourage. But Yigby, have you guys heard of Yes in God's Backyard? That's part of the Live Local Act. And again, they have it written up so crazy. HB 1389 makes it mandatory for local governments to approve mixed-use affordable housing. Yet SB 1730 gives local governments the options to approve affordable housing. I have a whole booklet on all of this. We do want home rule.
Hello? Okay. Thank you. Well, first off, we're being sued right now because of the Live Local Act. Sarasota County Commissioners, we're being sued individually because of our votes and our stand on Live Local Act. To suggest that this is political theater is absolutely nonsensical and a farce. Our board works for the people, period, at the end of the day. If you don't challenge things, if you don't take a risk, you're never going to know. I mean, I've been very clear on this particular topic ever since we first found out about Live Local through Matt Osterhaus at one of our board workshops in Venice. It was very insidious. Nobody knew much about it. And there could be unintended consequences due to this legislation, but the reality is taking local government control, elected officials out of the equation, taking your voice out of the equation is crazy. The 120% AMI period, it's $130,000. Ladies and gentlemen, that's just not affordable. This is not political theater. This is the real world. This is our children. These are people that want to downsize in their house to find products that are affordable in our area. That's laughable. We're getting sued. I've never been sued in my entire life. I'm a chiropractor. When you come to my office, you have to sign a form that I could potentially break your rib. It happens. I have never seen this nonsense. And quite frankly, we'll see from the very beginning very clear, my chat GPT, don't trust all of that stuff, ladies and gentlemen, because I was of the position we should have just been able to go right to a judge. Avoid all the lawyers and the attorneys. Go right to a judge, get a ruling. Thank you.
I'm very glad that this question came up. I just wrote an op-ed about the Live Local Act. Just because you disagree with a state law doesn't mean you don't have to follow it. I believe the commission's approach, whether well-intended as it is the wrong approach. We are the only county voting the way we do, and it is opening us up to a lot of litigation. And litigation is expensive. Delays are expensive. Outside counsel is expensive. I know. I'm a lawyer. This is what we do for a living. And I can tell you that I understand that we are motivating people to say, we're not going to listen to Tallahassee, we have local rule. That's all fine and dandy. There are other jurisdictions like Hillsborough that are challenging it in the appropriate means. But just because you do not like a piece of legislation where the state law has chosen to preempt home rule, you don't get to say, well, I'm just going to disregard it. Judges don't get to say, I don't like this rule because you're going to get these certain penalties, and I think that you're a great person, so I'm going to set that aside. We all have to follow the rule. The commissioners took an oath to follow the rule, and it is costly. They're not lining up to file lawsuits. They are filing lawsuits, and it is going to be very, very expensive. That is our taxpayer dollars that we could have used to hire our own counsel to challenge it on a legal basis. So the Live Local Act, regardless of how you feel about it, we are going about it in the wrong way, an expensive way. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got so many more questions, but it is time. And so I want to kick to you your opportunity for closing remarks. And so we are going to start with Mr. De Niro.
No more questions?
I know.
Come
see me after.
I was getting warmed up. Okay. We're closing out?
Yes. So.
Okay. Yeah, whatever I want to talk about. Okay. I got 30 seconds left?
There will be an opportunity. There will be a meet and greet after the formal question session, so you'll still be able to ask.
Thank you very much. Okay, so you've heard a little bit about me. I guess I'm a kind of a direct to the point kind of guy. I don't pull any punches. That just comes from being a cop for 30 years. But I also have brushed it up a little bit. I've evolved when I get into the retail business of real estate and mortgages, so I also do know how to talk to people. But I am very passionate about what's happening in our county. I do believe that we need to do something about affordability. I do know that we need to do something about the development and the infrastructure that we're sitting where development is outpacing our infrastructure. Okay, so what have I done in my life? Okay, I served this county. That's what I want to do again. You just don't go through life in a career with all the accolades and the awards and meritorious service medals. That's all nice stuff. Probably the most important thing that I did was a diversion program for victims of human trafficking. That was towards the end of my career, and I was actually given an award after I retired for creating a program called TILA. Maybe some of you have heard of that. I wrote the program, which was a collaboration of many organizations, of Sailor Freedom and Spark, First Step, and mental health facilities, because you know what? We're criminalizing victims, and that was the wrong way of handling it. It always was the wrong way of handling it, but it needed a mindset change. I was the individual that created that mindset change within the organization and to get these groups to collaborate. That's what I've done my entire life and my entire career, and I'm completely proud of that. And I want to thank you guys for giving me an opportunity to speak today, and I hope you all liked what I had to say. Thank you very much.
If I had to describe myself as a movie, it would be Rebel with a Cause and You've Got Mail. The rebel comes from knowing that things have to change and we have to stand up to authority, meaning Tallahassee. We have to protect our rights for the place we call home. I'll be observing citizen advisory committees. I'll be holding Zoom meetings monthly, encourage people to contact me. I love to answer emails. That's the movie, You've Got Mail. I'm focused on local growth anxieties, infrastructure, neighborhood charm, affordability, taxpayer stewardship, and protecting real people from people with power. What drives me is that the people have stopped being heard. We're at a real tipping point. The incumbents want to fix the problem that they caused. They're considering raising our taxes to pay for their bumbles. Can I do a better job? Of course, because I'm not going to solely rely on one source. I'm a blogger. I get down to the nitty-gritty to gather all my information. No one is going to pull the wool over our eyes. I will serve as the checks and balances. Mainly, unlike every Republican who has served on the board, I am not beholden to anyone, not to them, not to Tallahassee. I'm beholden to you. I'm beholden to the town, the environment, the people I've grown up with. This is our Sarasota, and we're going to take it back.
Thank you. Mr. Nunder.
Thank you, Ms. Lacaze. I'll just be very brief. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a job application, right? You need to look at resumes, you need to look at CVs, you need to look at relationships, and I'll just run down a list because time flies when you're having fun. You know, some of the accomplishments that I have while doing the job, and I'll just read them. You know, very active on the Midnight Pass Initiative. Second year, we lowered your millage rates. We pulled out the stormwater department, which has been incredibly effective for the proactive protection of this community. We redid HSAC and BHAC to streamline that process to make it easier for our nonprofits. We did our transportation workshop, even though it happened a year after I called for it. We're working on that. I'm not going to raise your taxes, Julie, please. I just want to say that for the record. And the other thing that's important I've worked on is the Gulf Gate golf course. Right? We didn't get to really touch on that, but, you know, that's a 50-acre parcel that is owned by a developer that would be unbelievable for stormwater mitigation and nutrient treatment before water at its last stop goes into our bay. Sheriff Hoffman's endorsement, Karen Rushing's endorsement, the IAFF firefighters endorsement, State Attorney Ed Brodsky endorsement. Relationships matter, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased and humbled that they walk this journey with me each and every day. And at the end of the day, August 18th is our primary. I hope to have earned your vote. God bless and be well.
Thank you. Ms. Sargent.
So yes, the primary is in 60 days from today. I grew up in Maryland. I actually grew up overseas, but I'm originally from Maryland. I'm from Baltimore. I have humble beginnings. I'm the oldest of 7 children. I went to Baltimore public school system. There was a 0% proficiency rate in math. That's why I became an attorney. I served my country. I have a daughter. By the time I graduated high school, I was already a parent. I worked hard to get to where I am now. I love living in Sarasota. I'm honored to be here. fell in love when I came here during COVID, because in Baltimore, it's just chaos all the time. And here you have so many people in the neighborhood, in the communities, in the organizations, and you can get involved. I didn't know anybody when I came here, and the moment I came here, I hit the ground running. I joined every organization I could. I joined sports, realized I'm not as young as I think. I love living here, and I have a passion for service. I served 15 years in the military. I want to do the right thing, and I think the right thing is understanding what you're voting for, really appreciating the impact that you have. There's so much that happens on the local level that impacts every one of us, and I'm here asking for your vote on August 18th. I would love to get to learn more about what you're passionate about and what you care about, and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
Yes, thank you all for coming tonight. I grew up in Sarasota, graduated from Riverview. This is my home and has been for a long time, and it means a lot to represent you and my home. And so I think one of the biggest accomplishments that I was able to convince my fellow board members was neighborhood workshops, coming back in person. The developers were using the virtual to basically rubber stamp things through, controlling the vertical and the horizontal. Those of us are old enough to understand that show. And the thing is, the neighborhoods matter, people matter. And it's your voice. And my wife Esther and I have been visiting every neighborhood since, I first ran in 22. We haven't stopped. Listening to you. As an architect, we listen before we design. So I have the professional, basically, resume here of not only listening before we design, before we find a solution, but also the knowledge base in order to understand development, understand infrastructure, and understand how to solve problems, because that's what we do. And so I want to continue to be your commissioner. There's more work to be done. We've got tough challenges in front of us. We need folks that know how to make decisions, make the right decisions. I will be honored if you'd re-elect me. It's been a thrill and an honor to be your county commissioner. So vote on the primary, August 18th. Thanks.
That concludes the formal question portion of our forum tonight. Please join me in thanking Emily and Suncoast Searchlight, as well as our candidates who were gracious enough to appear tonight, and also our league volunteers who helped put this together.
Again, there is a meet and greet with the candidates. Please have at them. Ask them all those questions that we didn't. And I just want to tell you, we're going to be picking up chairs because we have to get out of the library and we have to do it ourselves. So don't mind us. Please enjoy the candidates. And thank you.